in consumption spending this year, but you get minus 30,000 in inventory investment this year. This shows up as a total of minus $5,000. That when you do the detail of the national income and product accounts, you have 30,000 of national product created last year in auto manufacture, and minus $5,000 created this year in auto retail sales and distribution. That auto retail sales and distribution have been a value subtracting activity, which is not quite fair to the auto dealership. Right? It's not that they did something bad and destroyed lots of value. It's that oil prices went up, and the national income and product accounts can't really keep track of that, of the fact that the value of things in inventory changed because of economic circumstances, and it attributes it to something going on in auto sales. And add up a lot of these numbers, and you'll get a set of national income statistics that says, gee, auto sales are really unproductive this year. What are they doing? Why are they destroying so much value? That's a flaw in the national income and product accounts. That's the way that it happens to be. And we have 3B. We have a $35,000 automobile that costs $25,000 to manufacture. And for that, I want you to simply say it's $35,000 of consumption spending, $25,000 of manufacturing, and $10,000 of retail sales. $45,000 retail cost for an automobile that is a manufacturing, a factory gate cost of $30,000 that was newly made abroad this year and imported. Well, for that, we have $45,000 of consumption spending this year, minus $30,000 of imports this year, for a net of $15,000. Something similar is the roll in 2010 of this thing here. Right, retail price $500, of which, according to Greg Linden down at the Center for Labor Studies, I think about $50 goes to manufacturers in Taiwan and South Korea, and about $15 goes to assemblers in China. Maybe it's $25 by now to Foxconn. And the other $425 goes either to Apple, to American President Lines that carries the thing over from Shanghai, or to the assembled truckers and distributors who then carried it for Apple from the Oakland docks to my house. Something made outside the United States, yet 425 of its $500 of GDP are counted as made in the United States. Only $75 comes out of that, comes from elsewhere, $25 from China, $50 from Taiwan and South Korea and perhaps Malaysia. That's a very interesting thing. And one question is whether that's sustainable. Does intellectual property follow manufacturing? Is China now making a bunch of really good investments by investing in manufacturing assembly that will pay enormous benefits later on? Or would it be better off getting into some other business because Apple's still going to have the intellectual property and all the workers at Foxconn are learning how to do is to plug little pieces of parts together? Interesting question. Here we have a net of $15,000 of retail sales and distribution, as the total price of $45,000 is a plus, the $30,000 of imports is a minus. Problem 3D, our last snippet problem. We have an automobile manufactured abroad and imported last year. So it's a net of 0 for last year. 30,000 of inventory investment on the plus side, 30,000 of imports on the minus side, a net of 0. This year we have 50,000 of consumption spending and minus 30,000 of inventory investment. This year we have a net of $20,000. I think it's safe to say there's going to be one national income products account question on the midterm. I think those points should be relatively easy to get. That's kind of what we're looking for. More complicated are going to be things like problem 2 on problem set 6, where we're going to go back to the investment savings framework. We're going to have the same, we have in this one the same parameter values we had in problem 1, but we're going to have two things going on at once. We're going to have the real interest rate going up by 1% and specular confidence in the currency going down by 20%. And so there are actually going to be two things going on. What do you do with the investment savings equation when there are two things going on? Well, you calculate the effects of each of the things separately, and then you simply add them together. You can do that because these equations have the nice property of linearity. That the different pieces of it don't affect each other. You can decompose it and simply add up the results. Linearity is a wonderful thing. For us, linearity is a thing that doesn't exist out there in the world. Linearity is a thing that makes our lives much easier when we calculate. In fact, most of calculus is all about when you can assume that things are close enough to being linear, that you can actually go ahead and calculate as if they are. And yes, the right answer is 60. Yes, we're almost at 50% here, which is good. Work it through. Well, you have to work it through in two parts. You have to notice that confidence in the exchange rate, the value of the currency, is going down. And so that you're going to have to pull the effect of baseline autonomous spending on confidence in the exchange rate term, because that's a term that's shifting. And also the interest rate is shifting, so you have to pull the interest rate terms out as well and write those two down together. Then you have to plug in the parameter values. 500 for the sensitivity of the exports to the exchange rate. 10 for the sensitivity of the exchange rate to interest rates. Your multiplier of 1.5, which I gave you, which I didn't ask you to calculate. Your 1,000 sensitivity of investment to the interest rate. Then you plug in the changes. Right? There's a psychological change in foreign exchange speculators' assessments, and there's also a fall in the long-term risky real interest rate. Calculate the two pieces of those two pieces separately, add them up and multiply by 1.5, and you get a $60 billion increase in real GDP. Oops, this is wrong. This shouldn't be a minus 0.01. This should be a plus 0.01, not a minus. The interest rate is going up, and hence that means real GDP is going down. But even if you have a minus here, if you get the right answer, we'll give you full credit, even though it's somewhat disturbing. Right? That is the whole point of arithmetic and algebra, is if you do everything right, you get the right answer. If you do things wrong, you aren't supposed to still get the right answer. Something's going wrong there. Back when early 19th century inventor Charles Babbage convinced the British Parliament to spend the equivalent of 2 battleships on his attempt to construct a difference engine or an analytical engine. That is a computer, a programmable computer driven not by electronics but by mechanical pieces. They built 2 today in the last decade. It actually works. One is in London at a museum. The other is the property of Microsoft Prince Nathan Myhrvold up in Seattle. It came to the Computer Museum in San Jose a few years ago. It's a really impressive and strange machine. Babbage, however, never successfully constructed it. But one question he was asked by members of Parliament was, can you build a machine so that if you give it the wrong data, it will still produce the right answer? And Babbage wrote back that he could not imagine what set of thoughts or confusion of intellect could give rise to such a question. They funded him anyway, thus proving that arrogance sometimes pays, or at least gets the British government to waste money on a project that was beyond their technological capabilities. To A, yeah? Yeah, it's overwhelmed, right? Two things have happened. The interest rate has gone up, but speculator confidence in the currency has gone down. Right? So even though the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, what's happening is that the value of the currency is falling, and so your exports are booming. This is, in fact, Germany. This is, in fact, Germany today. You see, Germany today is, like all countries, still suffering from high long-term real interest rates produced by the financial panic, and yet its level of real GDP is, or perhaps was last fall, growing at quite an impressive and remarkable rate. Why? Well, because Germany is in a currency zone. It shares a common currency, the euro, with a bunch of weaker economies, particularly with Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and most of all, Greece. And so what we would say last fall was that every time an anarchist torches a police car on the streets of Athens, foreign exchange speculator confidence in the value of the euro goes down, and the euro falls. And when the euro falls, well, German-made manufacturing goods become much more attractive to outsiders in America and elsewhere, and we buy a lot of them. So the financial panic and the crisis that followed, because it produced the Greek government debt crisis, because then you had anarchists torching police cars on the streets of Athens, and as a result, a flight away from the euro, as people said, gee, they're burning police cars, maybe they're going to inflate, and they won't pay us back our money if we invested in Europe. That boosted German real GDP, and was one of the things last fall tending to make German Chancellor Angela Merkel lecture the United States on how we shouldn't be adopting such extraordinarily expansionary monetary policies. Look at Germany, it wasn't engaging in expansionary policies, and Germany was doing just fine. Our answer is, well, yeah, but that's only because you're yoked with Greece in a currency union and because they're torching police cars on the streets of Athens. That if they weren't, if you were the United States and if your currency had gone up because the dollar was perceived as a safe asset during the financial crisis rather than as the euro was last year as a kind of shaky and risky asset, then you'd be suffering as we are and you would probably be singing a different tune. Or at least that was the argument that Obama administration and Federal Reserve officials made to their German counterparts at meetings of the G7, the G20, the OECD, etc. On to part 3C. Real interest rate goes up by 3 percentage points, and baseline investment spending goes down by $200 billion. In this case, notice both of these things are going to be minuses. Interest rates go up, which means that's going to push interest-sensitive exports and interest-sensitive investment down. And also, kind of baseline confidence-driven investment spending is going down as well. And yeah, minus 570 has got to be it. Two big bad things going wrong, and so the answer has got to be a negative, and even the heuristic of two big bad things going down would have produced an answer for B. As you'd seen if you'd looked at there and you said, wait a minute, baseline investment spending is going down by $200 billion. The real interest rate is going up. Those are both pushing things down. It can't fall by only $60 billion. Baseline investment spending alone has fallen by more than that. The only answer that is admissible is B. And indeed, you can crank through the numbers, and there you are. Problem 2C, if the real interest rate goes down by 2% and if speculator confidence in the currency goes up by 10%, here we have two things that are working against each other. Right? A real interest rate going down is going to boost exports and investment. Speculator confidence in the currency, that's going to tend to raise the currency, right, and to diminish exports. Okay, and we're willing to bet at C at 105. And 105 it is, and that's the best we've gotten so far in 30 seconds, which is quite good. Notice, if you were to dig at the guts of this model, you'd see that the value of the currency is actually going down. Speculators are getting more confidence in the dollar, and that's pushing its value up. But as interest rates fall in the U.S., that tends to push the value of the dollar down. And so the fall in the dollar, because interest rates have fallen, is twice as big as the rise in the dollar, from the fact that people have more confidence in the currency. What time for two short answers? We're out of time. I don't really have time to run through what the correct one-paragraph long answers for the short answers are. But at least that is, we're looking for a paragraph or two to answer the question. And we think all of the questions should be easily answered, either from lecture, from the textbook, or from All the Devils Are Here. So good luck. I'll be back here on Friday, having depressed my Canadians and ready to grade. Good luck. Do well.